Your Holiness, a warm welcome on behalf of everyone here gathered in the Nieuwe Kerk of Amsterdam. It's Amsterdam's strong historical tradition of being a safe haven for religion and expressions of life, and that makes your presence here even more special. And that's why we gathered here a lot of people, Buddhists and non-Buddhists, people of faith and non-believers, members of the Dutch royal family, Prinses Irene and Prinses Marianne, ambassadors, excellencies, young people, students, scientists, entrepreneurs and sponsors, artists and art lovers. All have come together here to celebrate life in its many forms. And today we are celebrating, in particular, a highly inclusive religion, Buddhism. And I'm always impressed by the fact that people can transcend space. We gather here in this historic church to celebrate all walks of life and all expressions of life and society. And I'm delighted that we are now able to include your presence, Your Holiness, to mark the festive opening of our exhibition of Buddha's life. In a way, we are here in a small group, physically gathered here together. And we are far from the bustling streets of Lhasa, far removed from the tranquility of Lake Mori in Ladakh. And we include just a tiny part of the great global community of Buddhists around the world. Your Holiness, we cannot bring the chai bearers into the church now, or the pious traversing the Ladakh Lake, and nevertheless, we can connect with the entire world. Ladies and gentlemen, look around for the cameras. We are joined by people all around the world in live streaming at this moment. Maybe we can all wave to the cameras. Thank you very much. Let's all connect with each other, other by means of compassion and technology. Now, let me turn to the exhibition. We have chosen to examine Buddha's life through the eyes of contemporary artists, presenting ancient Buddhist art alongside contemporary works, and artists including Salvador Breed, Koos Breukel, Alicia Framis, Yoko Ono, and Ai Weiwei. And the tree under which we are standing right now is by Ai Weiwei. And the work of contemporary artists inspired us to come up with an entirely fresh ideas for this opening and for this unique exhibition. And you have given our team at the Nieuwe Kerk the space and opportunity to think differently, boldly, and freely. Buddhism is often praised as a matter of mind and reflection, with a focus on analysis and investigation, and with great understanding of science and technology. So it has been through all the ages. And that's why we have assembled young people, students, scientists to discuss with you one of the major topics of our time, compassion and technology. And it's my hope that our exhibition not only represents Buddhism as the world religion, as it always has been, but also brings a new light into the modern world, connecting us all with compassion. Technology adds something immaterial to the exhibition, something that enables us better to understand Buddha's teaching and therefore Buddha's life. And I like that we are all connected, both physically and through technology today. And thousands of people will follow this conversation here live to the live streaming. Your Holiness, you have set new standards in the world throughout your life, and you are doing so, again, by combining technology with your message of compassion. And so I leave you now under the tree of Ai Weiwei's tree and I give the floor to Christa Meinersma, the moderator of today. And another wonderful partner of this event, Diederik Kroese of the Singularity University, will be on stage for the closing remarks. Your Holiness, ladies and gentlemen, welcome again in the Nieuwe Kerk. Let's start.
Katelijne, thank you so much for welcoming us in the Nieuwe Kerk, a church known in history for being a place where people of different faiths and belongings were welcome. And I think today's dialogue on compassion and technology fits in that tradition of openness and unforgettable encounters. Your Holiness, today we have invited people who pioneer the use of technology to explore, together with you, the relation between compassion and technology. The modern world is full of technology, from our smartphones to computers to robots. It's pervasive, it's very powerful, and it's here to stay. On the other hand, people are interested in meditation, mindfulness, compassion, Buddhism. So we'll explore these topics, whether technology can be a force for good, whether it can enrich human interaction, in 2 panels. Each panel will last 40 minutes. In the first panel, we'll look at artificial intelligence and robotica. In the second panel, we'll look at sickness, old age, and death. Before inviting the panelists to the stage, I would invite Your Holiness and the audience to watch a small video to introduce the topic.
Our world is spinning. Technology is omnipresent and powerful. As a human, it feels hard to keep up. Technology extends us, connects us, brings us closer together. It can enrich and unite us. People left by the wayside could be part of the action again. Technology may even become our friend, offering assistance and companionship. But will it spin out of control? What if computers move toward general intelligence, thinking and acting faster than we can? Will we be overwhelmed? Will it take over, leaving us no room for irrational behavior? What happens if technology is in control? Would we want that? Who decides? What is ethical? Are we making the rules? Are we taking responsibility? Or will it be self-learning, steered by values? Would we be able to pull the plug saying this is enough? Or is technology just human nature, our destiny? Ethics and technology, a balancing act.
It's my great pleasure now to invite to join us on stage Tilly Lockie. Tilly has just had a major surgery, but she was adamant to be here with us today. A warm applause. Tilly, instead of me introducing you, why don't you tell His Holiness your story?
Good morning, Your Holiness. My name is Tilly, and I'm so honored to be here today. Thank you so much for inviting me. I had a severe disease when I was 15 months old called meningitis septicemia, and they... They basically said that I was 100% going to die, but somehow I pulled through and I'm here today.
And Tilly, Perhaps you can also tell His Holiness about your bionic arms and show a little what you can do with them. And perhaps also say how having these arms, how it changed your life.
Well, since losing my hands, I lost them so young, and I can't remember ever having hands, but I always wanted them. So ever since... Ever since then, I've been working with all kinds of tech companies trying to help develop bionic hands for people like me. These are from a company I'm working with currently called Open Bionics, and then we're trying to stray away from trying to blend in. We want to embrace the fact that we're unique. We don't mind being different. The hand I've had in the past were made to be really realistic.
Hold.
Can you give His Holiness a hand?
Whoa. Quite strong, quite strong. Oh.
I like these hands because they look futuristic and cool, and they even have my name on the side, so that's a plus.
What Tilly was saying is that instead of trying to hide the imperfection, she thought with this company that makes these arms to just show it. And she's been working with this company not only to improve her own arms and her own hands, but also she gives them critical feedback so that this company can work on making these arms for other children as well. But that's not all, Tilly. Perhaps you can also talk about your initiative to help other children.
Well, as I said, I was so young when I lost them. I don't remember having them. And I know that there's real people out there who've had hands their whole life, and then all of a sudden they're just gone.
Yeah.
And then they had to learn to live without them. And I just thought it was really important for them to have the support that they needed.
And Tilly, what is you have 5 pairs of hands, you told me. So why did you choose to wear these ones today?
Well, I only have 1 pair of hands, but I've got loads of different cases, loads of different colors, patterns. That's what's really cool about these hands. They're so customizable, and you can even have lights in it, so, you know.
Tilly, when we talked earlier, you said you had all kinds of questions that you would like to ask His Holiness. Why don't you?
Well, I think it's a really important question. What do you think, as you know, I'm working with a tech company trying to make these bionic hands. What do you think other bigger tech companies could be doing to help spread good around the world?
네. Yes, mission, very important, but mission control not by mission, but human being. And a human being, not only this physical, but mind, emotion. Ultimately, constructive emotion, good emotion, then our physical also become constructive way. if I lose anger, then I do this. So ultimately, I believe mind. Now here, I think as a result of meeting or discuss with modern psychologists, I notice the whole Western civilization is a very much materialistic thing. So that when they talk about consciousness, only sensorial level consciousness, not mental consciousness. Now, anger, attachment, and loving kindness, these related with mental consciousness, not sensorial. So, the modern technology, very, very helpful to
to help, particularly with disabilities and to do with body.
Very, very helpful. So you see, the company or concerned people who made this, I really very much appreciate. And you now, you see, can tell them how useful this. And then in, I think Europe, I think comparatively better facility. But look, Africa.
Yeah.
Many poor people. And then less developed country. Suffering. Immense. So, please, you, such I think in different part of the world, underdeveloped, a problem with physical, I think many. So the company, I think, should pay more attention.
Yeah.
This poorer section of the community, I feel very important.
I agree.
So you can make some contribution. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Holiness, for that advice. Let me now also invite the other panelists to this panel to the stage. Professor Maarten Steinboeg from the Technical University of Eindhoven and Karin Dolva, CEO and founder of No Isolation. So both of them have also brought some gadgets, some friends, but I'd like to invite Karin first, Karin Dolva, to introduce us to the little friend that you brought, or to introduce the friend to His Holiness.
Okay, this is AV1. It is a telepresence robot for children, specifically made for children who cannot go to school because of illness. So any diagnosis that keeps you from going where you should go, AV1 can help. And we actually have someone with us through AV1 today. So in UK, Jade is sitting, and she's here, so you can talk to her. And I think we should hear her if she says hi.
Hello, Your Holiness.
Hey, Jade.
And, sorry, Jade.
I think we have a really cool introduction video.
We do.
Which Jade just made of herself. So even though we just hear Jade, we also know who is on the other end of AV1. Can we have the short introduction, please?
Hello, my name's Jade Gard. I'm 18 years old and I'm speaking to you here from England. Often I can't get out the house and I can't see wonderful things like this because I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which affects my connective tissue. It means that a lot of the time I'm bedridden and I have seizures and dislocations. It's plain awful, but thanks to B, I get to experience the outside world, and every now and then I get to see it for real. Anyway, thank you to His Holiness and to everyone at No Isolation, and I hope that you have a nice conference.
Oh.
So
normally, normally Jade uses her robot to go to class, to go to the supermarket, to do all the things that she cannot do when she has to stay in bed. And her friends can pick up her robot and bring her around, right? So this is Jade, but in a different wrapping.
And Jade can actually move her head.
I think so, unless I moved her a bit too much. Sorry.
지금 텔레폰 소리 왜?
So it's sort of it's like a media for communication.
Yeah.
True. And audio goes both ways here. So Jade can hear us and talk to us, but we cannot see Jade, and that's a very conscious decision on our end, because in most cases this will be used in a classroom setting with all of your friends, and the children using AV1 are lying in bed. And if you're wearing your pajamas, if you don't have hair, you're pale, being on display on a screen in the classroom, that's not easy. So we made it into something sleek, something simple that they can dress up and make their own. And yeah.
cancer. 알래.
And Your Holiness, it's actually Jade who is controlling, let's say, the head of the robot. She can turn it, she can look at you, she can look at the audience. And if you like, Jade.
그네. 뭐지? I see.
Maybe you could, Jade, maybe you could ask a question? I know that you had a question for His Holiness.
Jade had a long list of questions for His Holiness.
Yes, I was wondering, have there ever been any female Dalai Lamas? If not, why not? And do you think there ever will be?
가사.
That's quite a question, Jade.
Good question.
Since many years, you see, some people ask me, but then I always mentioned the future. In case Dalai Lama institution still remain, then future Dalai Lama could be female. At the time, at the situation, actual situation, the female body more sort of useful, then why not? So, I think future.
That's very cool, thank you.
If Dalai Lama institution remain, but the big question is, this century-old institution, very institution of Dalai Lama, should continue or not up to concerned people, Tibetan people, and also Mongolian and some other people. So if the people feel now Dalai Lama institution is now old, sort of what's the tradition, old system, now no longer relevant, then automatically cease. Then no longer any question whether female Dalai Lama or not.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well,
Jade, perhaps another question. Can you explain, perhaps to His Holiness and to the audience, what it means for you to have AV1? Do you use it just for school? I know you love math. Do you use it for other things? What does it mean in your life?
It means freedom. It means that if I'm poorly, I'm still able to do things, so I can make plans that don't rely on my health. It means that I'm able to do things such as school, but also attend appointments and meetings and have fun with my friends and keep up those relationships that otherwise would be lost. A lot of the time I play Dungeons and Dragons through it, so I've actually managed to kill dragons using a robot, which is something very few people get to say.
That's very right. That's very right.
Can she actually see?
Yes.
The visual is one way.
So normally, now this is a very special setting for the robot and me and Jade, but normally this would be used by Jade, and there are 550 kids now using and having their own personal robot across Europe. And normally they would be in class, and their friends would take them out for the breaks and on school field trips. Field trips are often the thing you lose first if you get a heavy diagnosis, because it's difficult to bring you around. But through the robot, they can participate at anything. And I think you're touching in on something, Jade, with the freedom bit, because planning becomes difficult. And we would, at my company, we would never try to make technology replace human contact. Our whole theory and hypothesis is that if you get to participate on a day-to-day basis, no matter how poorly you're feeling, then it will be easier to come back. So for many of these kids, they are sick for years, and just going back to school after having been away for years, that's not easy. So we want them to stay in the loop and to communicate with all their friends every day, so that it's easy to come back, so it's easy to plan things on the weekends if you're feeling up for that. Because there's so many things happening around school, and that social arena is so important, because curriculum that's data gathering, and data gathering is best done with other people. You need that social bit of learning.
Your Holiness, what do you think about this?
제가 텔레폰 쓰지 말아요. 수 통과를.
She can see you. Jade is having a tablet at home, so she sees everything on a video stream, and when she moves, that's because she is wiping the screen, so she can spin 360 degrees around, and yeah.
And I can see really well, so I can see just how handsome you are, Your Holiness.
Then I think sophisticated mission. Use this mission. Can you read my mind?
I'm going to try. I'm guessing that you're thinking, oh my God.
Oh, wonderful technology. But I believe there's a limitation. No matter how sophisticated a mission, I think cannot represent this very sophisticated human intelligence, human mind. That is difficult, I feel. But of course, you can prove my thinking is wrong. Then okay.
Your Holiness, let me pick up on what you just said and move to Maarten. Jade, please stay with us. And if you have another question, we'll be happy to hear it. But I'll move to Maarten now. He sits on the left of Karen. So maybe you can see him if you move your head to the left.
I think she's... we don't know.
So, Your Holiness, I took a play robot with me, just to show you what is possible nowadays. This is a dino, a dinosaur. It makes actually noise. Maybe we can hear it.
Quite a lot of noise.
Quite a lot of noise here. And it's really sweet. In some sense, you could say this technology also adds to compassion. Do you want to touch it? Feel it like a baby and just touch it, because it has sensors and it will react to you.
Your Holiness, so far we were talking about technology that...
No sign of pain.
Maybe he get mad, I don't know.
Oh.
He likes that, you can see that. Yeah. I will turn it off, otherwise everybody is looking at the dino and not listening to us. So I will now put it off. So my question is, this is clear, it can have its role for children, for elderly people, with dementia, for instance, with Alzheimer. But suppose that this computer technology which is in here, suppose that in 20 years from now, this will be 1 million times smarter.
That's right.
What could it mean? And what you mentioned about the mental consciousness, what is the gap between mental consciousness of humans and computer technology, and how are we going to look forward that we can live together, so to speak?
I think it is mission. At least you see related with matters. Consciousness, of course, sensorial consciousness depend on organ. These are material. But the subtle consciousness, mind, not based on, now sensorial consciousness depend on our brain. Then, like awakened time, when we fully use these senses of organs, the mental level is a very grosser level. Then dreaming, the sensorial level, consciousness no longer function. The organs then sort of rest. In mental level, dreaming. Then further deeper, without dream, more deeper level of consciousness. Then someone faint, even short period, breathing also is stop. Then further deeper, sixth mind, mental consciousness. Then the deepest, at the time of death, heart beating stop. Then blood circulation in brain stop. Then brain, within short period, die. But now there are some number of cases clinically died, but body still remain very fresh, including my tutor. After his death, the clinical doctors come check, and they say now died, dead, but body remain very fresh till 13 days, very fresh. Then a similar case, some cases about 3 weeks remain fresh. So now some brain specialist like the Richard Davidson, Wisconsin University. Since many years, you see, our scientific sort of meeting, research or discussion with scientists, I usually call Buddhist science and modern science, mainly 4 fields: cosmology, neurobiology, and then physics, particularly quantum physics, then psychology. So then in the field of psychology, then the Richard Davidson now very much impressed these things. So he already also set up one project to examine the cases person who died, who dead, but physical body still very fresh. So some project is to carry further investigation. So like that. So we explain the most subtle level consciousness still in the body. Brain stop, but a very, very subtle level consciousness, more or less independent from our brain.
Right. Yeah. So we cannot sort of reconstruct that using technology. That's a level we don't understand yet.
So technology, so there is limitation. For example, I think like sensorial consciousness. See, we can increase eyesight, but there is limitation. Ear also, but a limitation. The mental, these, because it's related with matter, therefore there is limitation. The subtle level of consciousness not depend on physical.
Physical basis.
Yeah, it's,
So it can develop infinite way. But I think the future will answer these things.
I'm sure.
Not necessarily we decide, it will be this way, that way. No.
Yeah.
I think our previous generation never thought of these things. But you see, time passes. New technology, new knowledge, new deeper experience. So that as far as the inner value, mainly mind or consciousness is concerned, Indian tradition, over 3,000 years, developed investigation, various observer combined with mind, chit. So in order to investigate these deeper level of consciousness, over 4,000 years, India already developed the practice of single-pointed meditation that we call shamatha. Then the analytical meditation, analyze, that we call vipassana. So Buddha himself, product of these Indian tradition. So I think among Egyptian civilization, Chinese civilization, then also Indus Valley Survey, originally Indus Valley civilization, I think the Indian sort of civilization, I think also in many centuries, really pay much attention about deeper level of the self, very self. Now, quantum physics, we can, they have sort of a wonderful explanation. The things, the external thing does not exist as appears. If we investigate, nothing we can find. So, nothing objectively exists, but ultimately depend on observer. Then if we raise the question, where is observer? A quantum physicist in the West, no answer. But India, they investigate, where is observer? So then India, developed the concept of Atma. Or beside this physical, there is something, whether you call soul or Atma. That's the basis of rebirth. Atma, this body, and this brain, and mind which depend this brain is just one life. So Atma, life after life, no beginning. Like that. So therefore, and that concept, Atma concept, and raised a lot of debate within ancient Indian tradition.
Yeah. I think it's clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maarten.
Yep.
But you're a pioneer in this technology, this not only robots that are programmed to do what we want, but self-learning robots.
Yeah.
Do you think that at some point, I mean, how does that work, self-learning robots? And do you think that at some point, you know, a robot could, for instance, learn empathy or compassion?
Well, like the Dalai Lama explained, I agree with that. Everything which is materialized, everything which is linked to material, you can actually simulate in a computer. And hence, you can learn. So if you buy this toy robot, it behaves like a baby. But if you touch it, if you play with it, it develops over a few months. So there's a learning algorithm in this toy, very simple. If the computer inside this toy becomes very smart, you can learn more and more and more. And you can learn how people look, what they mean with their facial expressions. And then the computer can have a very intelligent interface. That computer in the future could actually express much more of emotions than currently. And that's all to do with learning. But the deeper question, of course, is can you go beyond everything which is material? And we don't know that yet. And everything which is beyond material, we don't see yet how we can actually mimic that in technology. And the question also is, should we want that? But that's another question, I think. Yeah.
Wonderful.
I would like to thank the panelists to this panel. And I would actually...
I wish now.
Yeah.
You see, technology, you see, make distinction. This person,
trying to say something.
this person,
Yeah.
you see, very dangerous and shorten their life, not physical action. Then some person, this is very, very sort of helpful to humanity.
Yeah.
So their life expand. You see, 100 years or 200 years, 300 years.
Yeah.
Okay. The destructive person, I think shorter the better. So the technology can make distinction. You see, this person more compassionate. This person, a lot of anger, a lot of hatred. Can make distinction by technology?
Yes.
Holiness is asking
Could be.
question.
Could be. I think could be. But do we want that? That technology makes those decisions? That's the question, eh? If technology should make those decisions. But I think technology can learn a lot from the behavior of people. It can learn how people behave and what their intentions are.
There's someone who is really, as you mentioned, you see someone really sort of, I should say, very demoralized and very sad, sort of, I should say, emotion.
Yes.
The robot yes. Robot, so they can, insulation survey. So
Consolate.
Yes, and make the person happier. Yeah. I think so, yes.
Like dog.
Like a dog, yes.
Dog, you see, when we show them sincere sort of feeling, they appreciate, isn't it?
Yes.
Not only just food. Look in their eye, they have a sort of serious, sincere, compassionate face. They appreciate.
Yeah.
But robot, I don't know, I doubt.
They can learn. They can learn. I think they
till
can
one
learn.
robot bring here, then I believe.
Okay. I will do that.
Absolutely. Your next robot.
Yes.
Your Holiness, we'll have to say goodbye to these three wonderful people.
Thank you.
And move on to the next panel. I would like to thank you very much and ask you to...
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Wonderful. Ask you to return to your seats.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Small kiss.
Thank you. come.
Your Holiness, the next panel will be about old age, sickness, and death. Technology opens almost unlimited possibilities to prevent sickness, old age, and perhaps in the future, even death. But what are we going to do if we can live a much longer and healthier life? And how do we enhance not only the length, but also the quality of this life? These are the questions we like to explore with the next set of panelists, and I would invite them to come onto the stage. Chris Verburg, Liz Parrish, Selma Bolmaf, and Jantine Lunshoff. Please join us on stage. Your Holiness, let me briefly introduce these participants. They didn't bring any robots or, dolls or things like that, but they have very interesting things to say. Chris Verburg is a medical doctor, a researcher, a scientist, and he's a writer of many, many books about longevity, healthy diet, and things like that. Liz Parrish is the CEO of BioViva. It's a tech company in Silicon Valley specialized in gene technology. Selma Bolmaf, sitting next to you, is a student at the Amsterdam University of Comparative Religions. She is also an alumni of the IMC Weekend School. It's a school that takes place in the weekend in Amsterdam and all across the country, and that offers curious youngsters from diverse backgrounds the possibility to meet all kinds of professionals. So it broadens their views about the possibilities in professional life. Jantine Lunshoff, she is an ethicist at MIT Harvard. She's Dutch by origin, and also in her student years, she studied Tibetan studies in Hamburg. We're very happy to have all four of you with us. And before we start the panel discussion, we'll have a short video introducing this topic.
The human body. We're unveiling its precious secrets. What was once a death sentence is now a mere inconvenience. We're digging deeper into our DNA, removing what we don't like, snipping, splicing, refining, disregarding the laws of age and decay. Our children will live well beyond 100 years, but where will it end? Are we stuck to our bodies, our given vessel? Or will we be able to switch? What makes a human life valuable? Is it merely the number of years? Or is it the way you spend your time, with love and compassion? What about suffering? Has it value? If so, how much suffering? Is there a secret beauty unveiled in disease and decay? Is there a deeper meaning to death? What if life is never-ending? How do we spend our time and energy? Who wants to live forever?
Let's pick up that last question, Your Holiness. Who wants to live forever? Would you like to live for a few centuries, or maybe even for 1,000 years?
That's unrealistic thinking. You should be realistic. I think over 2,000 to 3,000 years, you see, many sadhus, many Buddhist masters, you see, they also, you see, try to live long, so including some meditation. But no one, you see, remain, I think, the longest maybe, I think, 200. Otherwise, no one. So, in the past, I think, except, you see, technology not yet developed. So, through meditation, including practice of yoga, breathing control, these things, very helpful. Firstly, physical health, then longevity.
Longevity.
But there's a limitation. The whole world one day disappear. Our sun also after, you see, I think billion years may disappear. And the whole galaxies disappear. Then new galaxies come. That's the nature. So, one's expectation remain 1,000 years is unrealistic, I feel. So, if too much unrealistic sort of wish or thinking bring more disappointment, it's better to accept reality.
Chris, His Holiness is looking at you, and I want to turn to you because you're 32. You like to live up to at least 200, you told me, and you also think it's possible. So would you like to comment on what His Holiness has just said?
Well, His Holiness is absolutely right that with the current technology we have, we can, if we eat healthy, we meditate, we sleep well, we are happy, that we can achieve more chances of achieving 120 or 80, a healthy 80-year lifespan. Maximum lifespan of our species is about around 100, 120 years, and it's very difficult to go beyond that. That's absolutely right. But there are new technologies being developed, and in the last 2 years, we have seen spectacular experiments in lab animals, for example, where you have old mice. They have gray fur, they have bald spots, and they have all kinds of aging-related diseases like osteoporosis and so on, and they make the old mice young again. So they reverse aging in the mice. And of course... but of course, mice are not humans. But the remarkable thing about these studies is that for the first time in history, in fact, scientists don't just slow down aging, they actually reverse aging. So you have an old animal, you make it young again. That has never happened before. They use all kinds of special techniques for that. You can look at it as we have a mouse with a gray fur, bald spots, and the fur becomes shiny black again. The mice become active again. So it's very spectacular to see. Even as a medical doctor, I'm quite impressed by these studies. So a lot of researchers and scientists are trying to develop these technologies to actually reverse aging in humans. And there is a lot of research going into that recently, also a lot of investment. You have a lot of companies being created around that to really enable lifespans of hundreds of years, perhaps, in humans. And it's quite reasonable to believe that we will go to a future where people will live perhaps for centuries and still look quite young and healthy. And I don't know what's your idea about a future where people will live much longer. How can they lead a meaningful life, and what do you think about that?
Oh, yes, no. As a scientist, it is very important. This is because of the great vision.
To have vision.
And make effort. But then, when I first came to India, as a refugee, then we used to say 6 billion human beings. Now, last is a few decades. Nowadays, we say 7 billion. Then some sort of experts say, end of this century, human population will reach 10 billion. So, I think it is nature law. Young children come, old people go. Otherwise, I think eventually, I think even you say 10 billion, I think too much. Global warming really now create a problem. So firstly, I think the Dutch people here, no concern about water. And northern world, but southern world, including India, I think the shortage of water, and many other people in Africa. So these, the other day, I saw one picture, Venus, some small lakes. The bigger lake died, or dry. When we flew over Afghanistan, this area, there are many signs, originally big lake. Now some cases, very small lake, in many cases dry, desert. So now global warming, according to this sort of development, I think within the next few centuries, I think due to global warming, I think tremendous sort of difficulties may come. Mm-hmm. So, the scientists saying more optimistic. I'm saying more pessimistic. I mean, it is quite nature. Whole galaxies come and go. Our sun also eventually disappear. So then, like Venus and Mars, I think thousands, millions of years ago, you see some water there, now dry. So now the southern world, northern world, a lot of ice now melting rapidly. So that's nature process. I think technology, limited something, but change whole world, difficult. Mm-hmm. So we are as a production of the universe, evolution. Mm-hmm. Firstly, jellyfish, then gradually some animal, then apes are there. Apes. So we are ourselves. This is the product of the whole of the world. So world change. So we. I think important is while we alive, remain harmoniously or compassionately. That is possible. But thinking something human being remain on this planet permanently or 1,000 years. If whole world become desert, do you still prefer we human being remain a hungry person?
I think you're certainly right. I think if people are going to live longer, people will mention that there will be overpopulation, but we see perhaps on the long term, if you look at 300 years or longer, we will have a shrinkage of the population because people get less and less children. And some scientists think it's going to be a huge problem, like underpopulation on the long term. In the short term, like next 100 years, there will be more overpopulation, you're right, but perhaps in hundreds of years, some simulations. So
and then our question, how to control population?
Well, we see that as soon as...
I usually is telling, more monks, more nuns.
That's a solution.
More peaceful, more non-violent way of population control.
Indeed.
Yeah.
But we should take care of our planet, definitely, and also take care of ourselves. Because the nice thing, if you slow down aging, you reduce risk of all kinds of diseases, aging-related diseases.
That's very good.
At the same time.
That's very good.
So
that's very good.
Indeed. That's what we see the side effect of reducing all these diseases like Alzheimer's disease or cardiovascular disease. The side effect will be that you also slow down aging. So, and that you will live longer in the end. But we see that the most powerful method to reduce the risk of all these diseases is by slowing down the aging process itself. And that's why so much research is being done at that. But you're right that we have to take care that there won't be too many people in the end, and that we should better take care of our planet. I completely agree with that. And about that there will be too many people, there have also been some simulations about that. And even in a few hundreds of years, if people live even to 200 years or older, but they have much less children, there won't be that much of overpopulation. But still, it's something to keep in mind, of course.
I see.
Your Holiness, we did a little survey preparing for today. We did a little survey among children of 10 to 15 years old. And we asked them the question, do you want to become 150 years old? And a little less than half of them said yes. They like to spend more time with friends, have more time to play and do nice things. About 1/3 said no, because they say it's either
more sex. So it's difficult to control.
Yeah. But Selma, what do you think about that? I mean, you're the youngest person here on the panel. You're, well, I won't reveal your age. You're a student. What do you think about this?
To be honest, I wouldn't want to live forever. I wouldn't even want to live up to 150 years old. I think life at some point would become tiresome. And for me personally, I think it would take away the meaning of my choices that I make in life. Because they wouldn't be choices anymore. They would be things that I do now, but the other choice it's a possibility to do later. For example, choices like what I'm going to study, where I'm going to work, where I'm going to travel. It has meaning now because I choose to do that, because life has its limits. But if I live up for 200 years, 250 years, I can always do it later. And I feel like it takes away the meaning for me. And also, as a Muslim, I believe in the hereafter. So I wouldn't want to be here forever in this temporary world. Yeah, I think that's the answer to that question.
And I think according to religious sort of belief, then among the religion, world religion, two categories. One, theistic religion, as a belief creator, like Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and I think Zoroastrian also maybe believe creator. Then ancient Indian sort of one tradition, Sangha philosophy, one part of Sangha philosophy. So no creator, but rather self-creation. That's about, I think, 3,000 years. Then Jainism, Jain tradition. Jain tradition also, you say, no creator. Then Buddhism, no creator. So there are sort of different perception. So according to theistic religion, you see, God creates, today's world. Yeah. Firstly, human being, male, female, and then their life limitation called lifespan. So, the other day, when I flying over Afghanistan, see, really a desert. Very sort of physical, very, very poor. There are many signs. Originally, some lake, now just desert. So I want to complain to God. Why? See, you create some world more green, some world is more desert. Why? God or Allah, infinite love. Infinite love.
Mm-hmm. Infinite, sorry?
Infinite
love.
Infinite
yes.
love.
Infinite love.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. So you see, God has a sort of infinite love. You see, kind to everybody, every sort of animal creature, every creature, wonderful. God, full mercy. But then, you see, I think the theistic religion very useful when we're passing through some difficult experiences. Mm-hmm. You see, we still, hope to God, Allah. Mm-hmm. Isn't it?
Allah, yeah.
Huh?
Mm-hmm.
So that's very good. I think that's useful to keep hope. Hope, human life, very important. Once you lost hope, then itself shortened your life. Mm-hmm. Isn't it?
Indeed.
And worst case, suicide.
Mm-hmm. Thelma, you had a question to His Holiness about the role and the usefulness of illness and
yeah.
sickness.
So my question was the following. I am grateful for my health because I've experienced the flu and a fever. So I know what it feels like to be healthy. So I feel like, in a way, sicknesses like fevers and like the flu and short-term sicknesses, they have a meaning in life, a role. And I wondered what your view is on illnesses in life, in the life of humans.
Oh, okay.
What's your idea?
Very simple. Ask Ella.
No, I'm asking.
I don't know.
No, I'm asking you.
It's part of our life. This physical. All the sort of also sources of illness, old age, here. By nature. So then, only question, because of the logically, ask to the Creator, why you create that?
The question is more like, it's not like why do we get sick? That's not my question. Like, it's not unhappiness about being sick. I'm asking if you feel like sickness plays a role in life, and
I think.
Or
I think you see the sort of unfortunate story, because the experience is also useful to remind God.
Yeah.
When we happy, I think nobody say Allah or God. When passing through some difficult, then beyond our control, then remember Allah, God, God. Like that. So useful.
Okay.
So in order to remind Allah, this is some sickness.
And for you, like that's for me because I believe in the God, but you don't believe in the Creator. So do you feel like it has an important role in life?
According to theistic religion, we are very sinful. We do not accept God. We do not accept Creator. So Bishop Tutu, great friend of mine. So whenever we met, he always teasing me and mischievous Dalai Lama. I respond, mischievous bishop. So we very, very sort of, I said, a close friend. I really love that person, now too old. So one day, sort of some serious discussion about 3 days. On one occasion, he half teasing me. He mentioned he as a Christian believer of God, so he ready to go to heaven. I non-believer, so he mentioned Dalai Lama goes some different place. So strictly speaking, I think non-believer go to hell. So I think the pains and difficulties reminds God, Allah.
Okay.
I feel like that.
Thank you so much. Let's turn to Liz. Sorry.
Then, of course, my own experience. Firstly, I am Buddhist. And I usually describe half Buddhist monk, half scientist. I love investigation. In Buddhist tradition, Pali tradition, not much investigation. Sanskrit tradition, I say the whole system is investigation. So, Buddha himself, you see, express, oh my follower, monks, scholars, should not accept my teaching out of faith, but rather thorough investigation. So like Nagarjuna, Aryadeva, Buddha Palita, so on. You see, these great Buddhist masters of Nalanda tradition, they investigate Buddha's own teaching. If you accept this Buddha's teaching, it goes against the reason. So we must reject that. It is quite unique. Quite unique. So we follow the Nalanda tradition, always investigation. So we can go very well with the modern scientist.
Yeah.
So over 30 years, I have serious discussion with the modern scientist. The result, mutual benefit. We also learn some useful sort of information about how to develop galaxies or Big Bang, these things. And then also, to the scientists, they found very useful information about our mind and how to train our mind. Like that. So that's because you see, we, Nalanda tradition is the entirely sort of, because of the system is always investigation. Like that. So, my childhood, like your age, I was very lazy student. But I compel. You see, the Tibetan, quite practical. In ceremony, they put me on throne as a holy Dalai Lama. But when I getting lesson, they treated me like one lazy young boy. So I think some of you already know. My tutor keeps one whip at me. So that whip, yellow whip, so it's suppose the student, holy person, Dalai Lama. So the whip also should be holy. So yellow whip. But my intelligence, quite smart. I know if the holy whip use, no differences of holy pain. So I study. Firstly, as you say, Muslim, you see, you learn by heart Quran, isn't it? So many Hindus also. Say Buddhist also, Nalayan tradition also, you see, root text we memorize. Then each word explained according commentary, mainly wrote by Nalanda masters. And then also you see Tibetan. I think the books you see, which about 100 books taught by Buddha himself. Then about 20 books they wrote by Nalanda master, like Nagarjuna and so on. Then eventually you see translation started. So many Tibetan masters, they also wrote many commentaries. So I think around 10,000 volumes. So, according to Nalanda tradition, we as a follower of Nalanda tradition, we very much pay attention for study. And there are 3 levels. Knowledge, first level of knowledge is hearing, reading. Then, because I contemplate,
Then
think.
critical thinking, critical reflection.
Then you reach second level of knowledge, understanding. That brings conviction, thorough investigation. And then we also use extensively debate according logic. The Digna and Dharmakirti. These 2 great logicians hold their main writing available in Tibetan. We study. Very helpful, sharpening our mind. Very useful. And also, you see, whenever you see we hear or something, always the response is why, how. Not yes. Not never say yes. Always you see raise question, why? Even Buddha's teaching, why? That's very important. That's Nalanda tradition. So now today, I think the pure Nalanda tradition exists among Tibetan Buddhist tradition. Not in Pali, because of the country like Sri Lanka, Burma, Thailand, mainly Pali. And then China, Sanskrit, follower of Nalanda. But they not much extensive sort of use logic. Therefore, the Digna's text and Dharmakirti's sort of text some portion not fully translated into Chinese language. So only Tibetan. So we study this, I think, in order to become a fairly good scholar, at least 20 years study. In Tibet, in the past, 30 years study, very rigorous study. So the study, very important. As I mentioned earlier, the understanding, hearing, first level. Then understanding through, so analyze. Then second level of understanding, that brings conviction. Then familiarize, then you get experience.
So this is part of the Indian concept of knowledge acquisition. Initially, the knowledge is really confined to words and intellectual understanding, but on the basis of critical reflection, that knowledge gets integrated and conviction arises, and then on the conviction, then that knowledge can become more part of one's experience and being. So there's 3 levels of knowledge.
Your Holiness, we have 2 more very investigative minds on this panel, who I would like to bring into our wonderful discussion. One is Liz Parrish. Liz is not a scientist, but she is a practitioner, and she has actually experimented with gene therapy on herself. And so my question to her would be, why did you do that? And what did you actually do? Is it attachment to youthfulness in this life? Could you explain this to His Holiness?
All right, so Your Holiness, every year hundreds of millions of people suffer from chronic disease, and 40 million people die of biological aging alone. So in order to reduce the suffering in the world after the diagnosis that my son had of a chronic disease, I embarked on a journey of learning about medicine and technology. On my journey, I discovered gene therapy. So in 2003, after the human genome was discovered and run and analyzed, we don't fully understand it yet. It'll be a long time until we do. But we got our first glimpse at genes that may actually create healthier lives. So when we look at the human lifespan, if we look at people getting sick around 65, but maybe living to 120, we actually want to increase the health span of individuals to their maximum age. So right now, it's not about extending lifespans indefinitely. It's about creating healthy lives. And I would really like to know your feelings on this type of technology, editing the human genome so that we don't suffer from things like Alzheimer's, heart disease, cancer, and organ failure.
Did it? That's wonderful. Very good. But the important, I feel, the not question of because of the longevity, right?
Lifespan.
Lifespan. But life should be meaningful life. That's important.
Yes.
You know, meaningful means, if possible, help other. If not, at least restrain harming other. That's a meaningful life. We're born on this planet, whether there's creator or not, it is fact. Now we're born here, not create trouble, not for create because of the create trouble. No. We are a social animal. You see, born on this planet as a human being, as a member of the social animal. So we should be more compassionate, should have sense of responsibility to look after other sort of the member of our sort of the community. Community, in in the ancient time, small. You Holland, because of Dutch, only your small area. We Tibetan, and behind Himalayan mountain, we also, you see, consider, although we pray entire sentient being, the reality only limited Tibet people, the small population, and scattered. So when they pray, all sentient being is, I think, few thousand people. So now today, because of modern economy, no national boundary, and then on top of that, more serious thing is global warming. National boundary, religious boundary is secondary. We have to think about 7 billion human beings. So now we really need a sense of the global responsibility on the basis, sense of oneness of 7 billion human beings. That's very important. That's very important. So people, you see, more the sense of concern of others' well-being as a truly social animal, then such person, you see, remain healthy body and has a long life, very good. Other hand, people, they actually the creator of a problem. I think we should pray, we should wish shorten their life. Not violent way, but please, Allah, judge, you see, such people shorten their life.
Shantine.
So that's my view.
Yeah.
After all, we're born here without our control, our choice. Now, obviously, we human beings helping each other, showing affection, love. Then people also, you see, return because of the love, smiling. Then happy. Basically, we are a social animal. Even other animal is a social animal. Their member dying, the other stand around that. So that dying animal is showing some kind of sense of concern, sadness. And we also, the social animal. So now these days, I'm telling, according to my sort of also the conviction, we human beings on this planet now passing through some kind of crisis of emotion. That's very serious. According to scientists, now basic human nature is more compassionate. In spite of that, a lot of problem created by human beings themselves on the name of religion also, Shia and Sunni. Terrible. Both believe Allah and they read Quran and 5 times prayer. But very small differences in the name of Shia and Sunni, killing each other in Afghanistan, in Syria, in many areas. And then in Burma, Buddhist, Muslim, killing, bullying. And then Egypt, Christian, and Islam. So religion also is the source of problem, division. It's very sad. All religion carry same message of love. One of my Muslim friend, he told me, it is very true. Any Muslim, if create bloodshed, then actually no longer genuine Muslim. Then Muslim should extend love towards entire creations or creatures of Allah. Wonderful. Wonderful. So, it's the same message. Like that.
Your Holiness, let's also see what Jantine thinks about all these issues. I think she would agree with you on many of the points that you've just made. If we listen to Chris and Liz, the technological sky seems to be the limit. All kinds of possibilities to extend life, to look at old age as a disease, to even maybe push back death. But the question I would like to ask Jantine, she's an ethicist. What ethical questions, what social questions do all these developments raise? I think His Holiness has already mentioned quite a few, but what would you think about what His Holiness said? What would be the concerns that you would have, the ethical questions that these developments raise?
Thank you. I think a first question I would like to ask you, Your Holiness, is why is it that we humans do wish to extend our lives, to have longer lives? Is that what makes us human? Is it because we only know life and we do not know death? What are your thoughts on that?
그래, 그래서. Because I think even animal loves their life. Even a small insect, when our finger go dead, it's they avoid.
They avoid.
Because they love their own life. That's quite nature. Because of that, we live, or evolution take place. So we human being also loves our own life. So then death means end of that life. So, and then it sort of in addition, the life, at least we can see, we can learn, we can ask some problems to others to seek help. The death, mystery, dark. So naturally, there's some kind of uncomfortable or fear about death. Then through training, eventually you have full sort of confidence, you see, next life. Go like that, and then no problem. Otherwise, you see, death is something mystery.
Mystery.
Like that.
Yeah, but
even animal, as I already mentioned, like that.
You just mentioned before that also even for the teachings of the Buddha, we are supposed to ask why. Why is it that we want this, and why do we have to understand it? Because if we love life, we love a good life. And if life takes a bad turn and is not good anymore, what choices can we make then? And with current technology, we have more choices.
그래서 그래서 네 오시면서 무도 같이 없어. 어려워. Did it? That's right. Whether there is creator or not, so we have this marvelous brain. So with that intelligence, I think this side of brain, elephant, some other sort of animal, the size of this part of the brain is much bigger than human being. So they are seeing, hearing, much stronger than human being. But the mental level, you see, there I think the brain, which the mental,
Yes. His Holiness is wondering whether it is more connected with the amygdala.
So that, you see, we have some unique thing. So have the sort of ability to analyze. So, as a human being, without sort of investigation, and then wasteful, that part of brain. So analyze. So scientists also, you see, use that. So investigation, that's very important.
Your Holiness, unfortunately, we're coming to the end of our panel discussion on compassion and technology. The scientists, they talk about an artificial intelligence revolution. They talk about a biotech revolution. But you talk about an ethical revolution. Do you think we need an ethical revolution more now, given all these developments?
Quite a simple reason. We are now 21st century. Look back, 20th century, according to some historian. Around 200 millions of people killed in previous century. Obviously, First World War, the Holland, Belgium, I think German army, in order to invade France through, I think, your area, go like that. I think it is First World War, Second World War. Then, few decades, people in this continent remain fear about Third World War. But fortunately, that not happen. But in Asia, Korean War, Vietnam War, and then immense civil war in China, and also Russia, and also Vietnam. Very sad, very sad. During the 20th century, you see, the scientists, technologists, you see, they really developed a wonderful sort of invention, mainly weapon, including nuclear weapon. All these weapons, I think, wasted the scientists, because of marvelous brain, spent for how to kill other people. So that's 20th century. And then, after Second World War, I think people then become more mature. How much suffering as a result of war. Then, you see, thinking, development of European Union. I really admire. My teacher, one German philosopher or scientist, the von Weizsäcker, late von Weizsäcker, in 1990s, once he told me, when he was a young German, as a young German, every French eye, German is their enemy, and German eye, French is their enemy. But that kind of mental attitude completely changed. That when we discussed, when he told me that story, in 1990s. So look that, through centuries, enemy attitude, then through difficult experience, painful experience, then realize common goal is more important than national sovereignty. Wonderful. Wonderful. So I think European Union developed, I think at least last few decades, no longer any fighting. So you Dutch people also now remain peacefully. If French and German, you see, develop some fighting, then you also have to join either way. So like that. So the 21st century, I think, since the later part of 20th century, I think much change. I often used to telling people, because of the Iraq crisis about to happen, how many millions of people come out against violence? From Australia, Europe, then up to America. So people, I think, really totally against violence. Wonderful, wonderful. So still, some government, some country, selling weapon, very unfortunate. In order to create a peaceful world, I think we should think, ultimately our goal is demilitarize the world. Very important. So now, this century, 21st century, since I think this century is just following of later part of 20th century, so there is a real possibility to create happier world, peaceful world. So now we need vision, the peaceful world, on the basis of sense of oneness of humanity. Not my nation, their nation, not my religious sort of follower. Different religion, different nationality is secondary. Basically, we are same human being, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, 2 eyes, 1 nose, 1 mouth. The 7 billion human beings are same, isn't it? See, our own sort of creation, this nation, that nation, Muslim, Buddhist, Hindus, Christians, secondary. When we're born, no differences, same human being. We all, you see, survived with mother's milk, same. So, like that. So therefore, now I think the time comes, we should make effort to achieve happy world. No longer, you see, due to small differences in killing each other. Okay, that's all. So I'm very happy now one Muslim sister here. one of my commitments is trying to promotion of religious harmony. As I mentioned earlier, in Syria, in this area, you see, due to different religious tradition, killing each other. India, I always is telling, over 1 billion population, all the world major religious tradition live together there. Over 3,000 years. I think firstly, India's own sort of the different religious tradition, then later Zoroastrian from ancient Persia, and then Judaism, Islam, Christian come outside. Then all major religious traditions live together in India. Yeah. So it is possible. Religious harmony is very possible. India, big country with a long history and over billion populated nation. So India, quite a troubled, because a troubled area, but still, as far as religious harmony is concerned, wonderful. That's the example. India, huge, over billion populated nation, can keep religious harmony, then why not the other smaller countries? Religious harmony is very possible. So I fully committed the promotion of religious harmony. So shake hands.
Your Holiness, thank you.
Thank you.
I would like now to ask Diederik Kroeze from Singularity University, the Netherlands, to join us on stage to give his word of thanks. I would also like to invite the participants of the first panel to join us for the word of thanks. Thank you so much for this dialogue on compassion and technology.
Well, come here, come here.
Thank you, Krista. Thank you, dear Holiness. Time and chance happening to us all. I would like to start with our setting as a closing. We're in a church built 600 years ago, at the end of the Dark Ages. Just try to imagine what it feels like to live in that time period. The music you hear during the ceremony is composed by a Buddhist, Philip Glass, entitled Mad Rush. The church was built on an orchard, and now we have Ai Weiwei's tree to remind us, or that for some refers to rapid growth and a powerless minority. The deer reminds me of the beauty and fragility of nature, and yes, there is a deer inside. And in Buddhism, it refers to seducing desires, temptation. Yoko Ono brought us earth from conflict areas to remind us of our dark side, our unpeaceful history. And today we're honored by the presence of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, a noble man of peace. So just to set the scene, this moment is rich in meaning and symbolism, showing us two sides of the spectrum. I recall vividly that Paul Mostert, the deputy director of the new church, called us with the request to contribute to an opening for an exhibition on the life of Buddha. And I especially would like to thank him, Krista, Siebe, Madeleine, Madeline, Dave, Partijn, and all others involved for the wonderful result, a beautiful composition. Singularity is grateful to be able to contribute to a conversation on compassion and technology. Tech requires compassion when designed and when used. Singularity refers to the fact that we can't look beyond the present with great certainty. Progress will leave very few things the same. Our human nature, curiosity, desires will have no ending. So how can we focus our attention, our desires to the positive, the important, using tech for good? And what's good? The previous exhibition of the Nieuwe Kerk, the new church, and Singularity Summit refer to be the change. Be the change you wish to see in the world. We might disagree upon the use of technology, its purpose, its goals, or how to get there. Perhaps that's part of the beauty of our human quest. Even with eternal life, the quest remains, how do we want to spend our time and energy? No one will ever have all answers. We have to explore together what a good life, a good society, and the right application of technology entails. In a complex world, there are often no simple, static answers, so we should not concentrate wealth, capital, power, knowledge. We need the distributed kind, allowing perspectives from all angles with deep dialogue. And yes, there will be unintended consequences. Our sight and nature is limited. You can argue whether technology for mankind is nature, second nature, or culture. In any event, the technological evolution will raise deep questions. Like, what does it mean to be human? Is prosperity limited to the circumstances of one's birth? Will progress by some result in abundance for all? What is progress? How much do we need? How much is enough? Where do we draw the line? Will we be able to extend our concern beyond borders? Will we be able to consider the impact of our actions and change our behavior? I feel joyful. I feel joy when I see Tilly taking on life with all her potential and imagine her playing the piano. I feel joy when I see AV1 users being enthusiastic about being able to join friends and go outside for the first time. And I feel joy when I hear youngsters ask Maarten whether a robot will fall in love with them. I certainly would feel joy if dear ones could live a little longer. So as technology and desires evolve, the conversation on compassionate use of technology should also have no ending. Knowledge and values can guide us through these uncertain times, but only if we're willing to challenge and update them with an open mind. Let's ensure that it's at least our intent to actively and consciously work towards a better future for ourselves and our children. Singularity U wants to support and facilitate that dialogue, enriching it with as many perspectives as possible. Today, we're grateful for the contribution by all panel members, especially His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And I would like to thank you, our audience, for your presence at the exhibition, at the opening of an exhibition on Buddha's life, Path to the Present. And before we ask you to silently leave the church as His Holiness will be interviewed, I would like all of us to reflect in silence together for 30 seconds. What has touched you today, and what can you do next week to positively impact someone's life? 30 seconds, just a reflection. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.